You know, I should have just scheduled today's episode as a regular Winged Eagle podcast because we have got some news to get into, son. Holy crap. What a day it's been so far. Backlash 2024 is in the books. France was red, white, crazy, stupid, off the charts, record-breaking hot for this show, breaking decibel limits, people getting notifications on their phone because the noise is too dangerous for their ears. I'm preparing right now, as we speak, a petition to send to Triple H, Nick Khan, and WWE to just hold every WWE show from now on in France. What do y'all think about that? I'm fine with it because, my God, that was a fun show. A lot of us were kind of complaining a little bit about the short card, 5 matches, glorified house show type of shit. That show was anything but. Loved every minute of it. Backlash, 2 years in a row now, have had really, really hot crowds. Last year being in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And this year, once again, leaving the continental U.S. and going to France for probably an equally, if not greater, crowd than last year in Puerto Rico. And I didn't think that was possible. So I like this trend of Backlash leaving the continental U.S. every year. I hope they continue to do this for every Backlash. I think that would be a lot of fun because it ensures a really hot crowd. And at least we can have that one pay-per-view on the calendar that we know is going to be just different than the rest. You know what I mean? But it's not going to be all that different from one, I guess a month away from now, a month, maybe 6 weeks from now. They're going to be going to Glasgow, Scotland for Clash at the Castle. So the Scottish folks are going to have to match what France did here tonight because I thought Backlash was really fun. I went perfect in my predictions, as did a lot of folks. I think this was one of the more predictable pay-per-views. However, the predictability factor didn't matter. Still a really fun show, and we will be breaking it down here in just a moment. But we also had some other big breaking news that just dropped a few minutes ago. During Backlash tonight, WWE announced that during the pre-show of the Kentucky Derby, which is also today, they were going to be announcing the location for WrestleMania 41. It is now official. Unfortunately for our friends in Minnesota, it's not going to be Minnesota. It is going to be in Las Vegas. April 19th and 20th is the date, and I will be seeing y'all there. We're definitely going to Vegas next year. I'm stoked. I'm pumped. I'm so happy. Condolences to everybody in Minnesota. Minneapolis is a great city. Minnesota is a great state. Great people there. They deserve a WrestleMania, and I'm really hoping I'm going to be the top advocate and flag waver for WrestleMania 42 to be in Minnesota. I think that's where it should be. Sounds like Minneapolis had this thing all sewn up and in the bag, and then WWE maybe pivoted and changed their direction to Vegas, believing probably, at least in my mind, I feel like this is probably due to The Rock's involvement next year, probably going to be involved in the main event, probably going to be involved in a big match, and it might be the final match Rock ever wrestles. It's very possible. So I think Vegas is a better market for that. We've been talking about this ever since before WrestleMania 40 this year in Philly, that Vegas just seems like it would be a better place. And since the Minnesota announcement never came, if it was going to be Minnesota, I felt like we would have known that by now. They would have told us. So the fact that it was delayed, we didn't hear and there was a lot of rumors too that maybe it was changing. All signs were pointing to Vegas, and we did get that confirmation today. So I'm going to start looking at hotel arrangements and whatnot for next year. For me, it's going to be an easy trip because it's drivable. Any WrestleMania where I can avoid buying flights, is better for me. So it's going to be a drive-up thing for me, about a 5-hour trip from San Diego to Vegas. And I'll probably be up there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So let's start making our plans to be hanging out. We'll start formulating some ideas throughout the year and plan for a big-ass party in Las Vegas and WrestleMania at Allegiant Stadium. It would be great if they did SmackDown or Raw at the Sphere or something, or maybe the Hall of Fame there. I don't know. I'm hoping they utilize that Sphere next year at WrestleMania as well. It's going to be a party. So that's some very, very good news for us over here on the West Coast. Very sad for Minnesota, but I wouldn't worry too much. You will get a WrestleMania, and I'd be willing to bet WrestleMania 42 will be in Minneapolis. But it is now official. WrestleMania 41, April 19th and 20th in Las Vegas, WrestleMania at Allegiant Stadium. And that's going to be fun. I'm assuming the Raw and SmackDown and Hall of Fame will be at T-Mobile, possibly the MGM Grand, but probably T-Mobile Arena. And yeah, man, it's going to be a party. So that news came out just a little while ago. It is official, and that's big. So start making your plans now. We have other news to get into as well before we start reviewing Backlash. Like I said, I should have just scheduled a regular podcast for today because we've got some WWE re-signing news. We have some WWE departures and releases. We have some AEW departures, some other random news to discuss. Hulk Hogan, Rikishi, John Laurinaitis, Powerhouse Hobbs, things like that. And also we will be reviewing Backlash. So that's what's on tap for this afternoon. Happy Saturday to you, and welcome to a sort of Winged Eagle podcast, but it's mostly just a Backlash review. You guys can also hit me in the chat there. Let me know what you thought of tonight's show, A, B, C, or D, 1 through 10. Most people that I saw were giving the show really high marks across the board, and I think a big reason for that is the crowd. The crowd played a huge role. You put this exact show in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'm sure it's still a very good show, but nothing like it was tonight in France. Great, great stuff. Let's cruise to the chat, say hello to everybody, get ourselves all organized here, and then we will start discussing our topics for today. But good to see Jacob. Mania location is getting announced after Backlash. My brother, it's already been announced. We got it just a little while ago. Good to see Harry Rice and Martin Tomlinson and William Cullen in here. King Ozza is in the house as well, along with channel members 7th Season and Big J. Also Isaac and Sonic Plays, more channel members I see. Good to see Daniel Barry Sports, Daniel Mendola. What up, man? Vaney in Vegas. I'll see you there, right? I'm sure I will. Crazy J, David Brown, also in the house. We have Jimmy Anderson, 20-month member. What's up, man? Good evening, everyone. I was in France for SmackDown, and it was crazy. The French fans are just as good as the UK fans. It was crazy fun. Yeah, that SmackDown last night looked like a show, man. I really love just the vibe. I'm really loving those minimalist sets. You know, tonight, I don't know if you noticed, but there's no LED bullshit on the ring posts and all of that. I really, really appreciate that because that stuff just gets a little bit too much sometimes. So I'm glad that the atmosphere, the vibe, the energy in the building, everything was tremendous. And I'm glad you got to experience that, Jimmy. That is awesome. Good to see Mike Witt as well. Appreciate the $5. Feel bad for Midwestern wrestling fans. Hopefully a future Royal Rumble in Milwaukee. I'm thinking 42, Minnesota gets it. Brock retirement, maybe. The thing about this is if there was some agreement in place with WrestleMania 41 with Minnesota and WWE, and they decided to go in a different direction, you would think that they would be like, look, you're going to get 42, but we need 41 to be in Vegas. Sorry. So I'm hoping that there's no bad blood between WWE and the state of Minnesota or the city of Minneapolis specifically, and hopefully they can still make a bid for another WrestleMania. And I think it would be the right thing to do to put 42 in Minnesota. I mean, if they skip them again, that's going to suck. So, yeah, I think they'll get 42. I think that's just the right thing to do there. You know what I mean? Luke McAllister's got 10 for us. Thanks, dude. What's up, Greg? Guess us Scots have our work cut out for us in June. That crowd was electric from the start and puts the rest of us to shame. Awesome show from top to bottom. Well, now y'all got something to achieve, you know, to a goal to set for yourselves, and you have to do better than France did tonight at Backlash, but I'm not really totally sure if that's possible. So I'm looking forward to that Clash at the Castle now, you know, that we saw what France turned out and did tonight. So I hope you're going to that, Luke. That's going to be fun. Thanks for being here as always, my friend. Good to see Mr. J, 3-month member. What's up? Thanks for all the videos. No problem, man. Thanks for being here. Daniel Mendiola, good to see you. Do they have a yard house in Vegas? I don't know, dude. Appreciate the $2, but it's going to be way better than LA. Last year, Daniel was with us, our little meetup that we had in LA before WrestleMania 39. We had a big party at the Yard House, which is right across the street from Staples Center or Crypto.com Arena, where they were holding SmackDown in the Hall of Fame. But what sucks about LA is, you know, all that stuff is downtown. WrestleMania is in Inglewood. What's great about Vegas is that it's all there. T-Mobile and Allegiant Stadium and the hotel you're staying at, and probably WrestleCon and a whole bunch of other live shows, the Wally Mania, the Undertaker podcasts, hotels where all the fans are staying. We're all together. There should be no reason to Uber anywhere. I'm staying right there on the fucking strip, man. And as soon as I park my car, I ain't getting back in it. We are going to be walking all around town. I'm fucking stoked, man. Start saving your money. Vegas ain't cheap. So I hope all of you guys, if you live anywhere in the western half of this country, come to Vegas, hang out with me. Would look forward to seeing you. We also have Denny Downbad and Super Bass Fisher in here as well. Glad y'all are in here. Derby is so boring. Yeah, I'm not a Kentucky Derby fan. However, my sister was conceived at the Kentucky Derby in a Winnebago way back in she was born in 86, so 1985. She was conceived in a Winnebago. My dad would always, when we lived in Michigan, would drive with his friends. They would do road trips every year down to the Kentucky Derby, make a big weekend of it, get wasted, gamble, that type of thing. And then when he met my mom and they got married, she started joining them and they went down there, and they were not shy about telling us how my little sister, my baby sister, who's now 38 years old, was conceived all the way back in the day at the Kentucky Derby. So the Kentucky Derby is boring. I don't like horse racing at all, but it still does hold kind of a special place in my heart because it gave me a sister. So thanks, horses. And yeah, we're doing a big shit tonight at work too. We got like mint julep specials and all this nonsense for the Derby. People are probably there right now wearing crazy hats and shit, and I'm glad I'm not there yet. I'll be going in later. But yeah, the Derby is not for me either. Mike Witt, appreciate 5 more. Wish my boy KO would not be taking all these pins lately. KO for Money in the Bank. Book it, Hunter. Ooh, Kevin Owens as a Money in the Bank briefcase holder would be all kinds of fun. I second that. Yeah, I guess he did take the pin tonight. Man, that match was fucking nuts, wasn't it? My God. How long did it go? 30 minutes or something? It turned into, I forgot what Nick Aldis came out and made it. What did Nick Aldis make? Just no disqualification or just anything goes match, right? Or whatever. So it was just all kinds of crazy. And we saw a Bloodline expansion and not the Bloodline member we were expecting. I thought that was a nice little twist there. And it just goes to show you how big this Bloodline, this new Bloodline, is going to grow. And we're probably going to get a nice Civil War Games match between the two Bloodline camps, especially when Roman Reigns comes back. And that should be great. So seeing Tonga Loa show up, which is Tama Tonga's brother. When we were all expecting Jacob Fatu, I thought that was a nice little twist, and KO and all those guys just beat the hell out of each other. That was such a fun match. Also, congrats to Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, who did, as predicted, win the women's tag team titles. Tough going for Jade Cargill there. She was looking great at first. She executed just a wonderful springboard high cross body onto the Kabukis, but in the second half of the match, she seemed to get a little bit lost out there, but they still recovered nicely. And her and Bianca, that visual holding up those titles, unbelievable stuff. So congrats to them. New women's tag team champions. And of course, we had Damian Priest and Cody Rhodes retain their titles. We'll talk about those matches later. And Bayley retained hers as well. But before we get into that, we have to talk about some wrestling news too. We got a lot of stuff going on. We just talked Street Fight. Thank you, Isaac. We just talked about the WrestleMania 41 announcement that was finally made by WWE just a few minutes ago, like within the last 30 minutes, and it will in fact be Las Vegas. I had just expressed my excitement for that and how excited I am to go there and hang out with all of you guys next year in 2025. So be there or be stupid. The other big news we have to get into, we have a lot of big news to get into, but Seth Rollins has also re-signed with the company. Again, not a huge surprise here. I'm expecting Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch to be WWE for life. There's no reason for either one of them to leave or the both of them to leave. So I was never really too concerned about that. This is right on the heels of Drew McIntyre just re-upping his contract as well. Another situation where nobody was really expecting him to leave. He wasn't going anywhere. It was just about getting the details ironed out and finalized, and they did. And now Seth Rollins is also staying with WWE. This report came courtesy of Fightful Select, and I quote, WWE sources have confirmed to Fightful's Sean Ross Sapp that Seth Rollins will remain with WWE for years to come and has re-signed with the company. As has been the case with most of the re-signings, we're told that it will be a multi-year deal for big money. Not a big surprise there. So after Seth Rollins re-signs his contract, or before Rollins re-signed his, I should say, Drew McIntyre re-upped, so did Finn Balor, and I think any other contracts that are coming up here soon probably will get extended, because I don't think anybody's really trying to leave the white-hot WWE right now, you know what I mean? So that is good news on WWE's end of things. Some bad news on the AEW side. We did, in fact, have a Powerhouse Hobbs injury on Dynamite last week when he wrestled Moxley for the IWGP title. He came up a little weird on the leg. You could tell he was favoring the leg, even looked like they went home early on the match. And we were worried that it was going to be something serious, and it turns out that it is, and surgery is required. That's heartbreaking. We're big Powerhouse Hobbs fans on this channel. Hated to hear that for him, but you could tell the way he was moving around on that leg that something was wrong. Now, they did not disclose what the exact injury was, but you definitely know it was a leg because he was limping on the leg, so don't know if it's the knee or what kind of tear it is, or if we're talking ACL, we're talking out for a year type of shit, or if it's more just a tweaking, a scope deal, we don't know. Hopefully, whatever the surgery is isn't too devastating, but usually anything with a leg or knee, when that has to get operated on, you are looking at close to a year-ish, 9 months plus generally is what you're looking at that for recovery time. So hopefully Hobbs recovers well and it goes as well as possible, and we wish him the best because that's a huge loss and that sucks. So Hobbs is out at least for the time being, and we wish him well. Also, we have an Ethan Page Ethan Page news. Ethan Page is a free agent. It was reported and noticed a day or two ago that he was no longer on the AEW website, and it was confirmed that he is no longer with the company. Ethan Page did release a video today on social media that I just saw about 2 minutes before I went live. Did not get a chance to watch it, so I don't know if him being gone from the company was a result of a release or as a result of his contract being up. I'm sure he explains that in the video, but he is a free agent, and I always liked Ethan Page. If he is able to, get a gig down at WWE or show up in NXT, I think that would be terrific. And same goes for Ricky Starks, as a lot of folks are talking about him as well. So we'll see if Ethan Page and Ricky Starks turn up in WWE in the future, but at least in the immediate future with Ethan Page, hopefully, he is able to resume and continue his wrestling career, and I'm sure he will have no problem finding work on the indie scene. So all the best to Ethan Page. Did you guys hear that rap song, that diss track that Rikishi recorded on Hulk Hogan? Don't even know what that was about, but Rikishi released, I think it was yesterday, an entire rap song that is sampling Lean Back from Fat Joe. And it's got sound bites from the Iron Sheik in there as well. And Rikishi lays down these bars on Hulk Hogan, just completely dissing him. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't write down any of the lyrics or whatever, but I did listen to the song. It wasn't bad. Rikishi's got a pretty good voice. And, anytime somebody wants to spend time to actually sing about how much they don't like Hulk Hogan, I will listen. And I thought that it was pretty good. Random as hell, totally random news story. Rikishi releases diss track on Hulk Hogan. Huh? Okay, I'll listen to it. Funny story, funny looking headline, and not a bad song. So I don't know what motivated Rikishi to do that, or if he was just sitting around with some friends talking about Hulk Hogan. He's like, yeah, fuck that guy, man. Let's make a song about him. I don't know the backstory to this. Another thing I don't know anything about is the Brian Kendrick and Drake Maverick rap beef that apparently Brian Kendrick keeps pointing out that Drake Maverick isn't, is white. I knew that. I can look at Drake Maverick and tell that he's not black, so I don't know what that whole beef is about. But these two guys are going at it too, and now Hulk Hogan and Rikishi are going at it. There's a lot of rap battles in wrestling right now, and I'm a little bit lost. Forgive me. If you guys want to fill me in on how all this works in the chat, feel free. But I don't know what prompted Rikishi to release this song, but I loved every second of it. It was fun. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. John Laurinaitis. We got some news on this boy, too. The ultimate stooge, John Laurinaitis, has now flipped his stance in the Janelle Grant lawsuit, previously claiming that he also was victimized by Vince McMahon. This was a statement released by his lawyer months ago that Vince McMahon was the master manipulator behind all of this, and he was not only coercing and forcing Janelle Grant to do these things, but John Laurinaitis as well. And now, in a huge turn of events here, probably because John Laurinaitis, speaking with his legal team, realized that strategy is not going to work. And maybe Vince McMahon has spoken to John Laurinaitis, Whatever the case may be, John Laurinaitis has now flipped his stance and now supports Vince McMahon's motion to compel arbitration in this lawsuit. So basically, back on April 23rd, McMahon's legal team filed a motion requesting that the court recognize an arbitration clause in the NDA agreement that Grant signed and send the matter to an independent arbitrator rather than going into litigation. And that would mean that all those proceedings would take place behind closed doors, not for the public. So I think it still remains to be seen whether or not that motion will be granted or not, but Laurinaitis is now going to be aligning with Vince McMahon so the two of these guys can join forces and double team this woman again. Isn't that nice? And I mean, can you look any worse? You know, if you're John Laurinaitis, to me, this is just an admission of guilt. If you can't decide which side you're on, if you can't decide if you're a victim, you know, of Vince McMahon or Janelle Grant, then, you know, you're fucking guilty. It was almost as if Laurinaitis went to his lawyers and said, hey, what can I do that would make me look, number one, the most pathetic, look like a bitch, and look guilty as all fuck? Hey, why don't you completely do a 180 on your stance and join Vince McMahon right after he unloads all of his WWE shares? You know, I mean, did Vince McMahon pay off Laurinaitis to join with him? It's ugly. It's disgusting, and I just laugh that Laurinaitis is shamelessly basically just admitting guilt when he's completely changing his entire defense strategy. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? It tells you that this guy has been a yes man and completely up the ass of Vince McMahon for years. When we used to hear all of the critiques of John Laurinaitis over the last 10 or 15 years, everybody said the same thing. He is a Vince McMahon yes man, and he walks around with his head completely submerged up the anus of Vince all the time. And when he briefly wanted to be Vince McMahon's victim, now he's turning around and joining Vince. Once a stooge, always a stooge. Who knows what went on behind the scenes or what sort of conversations or text messages between Laurinaitis and Vince took place to convince Laurinaitis to go in this direction, or if it was Laurinaitis' own attorneys who just said, hey, if you're going to try to paint yourself as a victim of Vince McMahon, that's not going to work based on the evidence. You need to, your best defense or your best option to avoid accountability is to actually join Vince, in arbitration, and that's what he chose to do. So he's basically just taking the path that statistically will give him the best chance to avoid punishment. That's fucked up. Fuck you, John Laurinaitis. I hope all of your ugly, dirty laundry comes out for everybody to hear. Everybody to hear. You fucking prick. So that was also a really interesting story this week. So none of that stuff we were able to get to this week on the channel in any way. So I wanted to at least come up here and mention those before we started reviewing the Backlash pay-per-view. So what a mess. What a weird week. A lot of good news, a lot of bad news. This week it's kind of been a lot of things. And we also had last night, in the middle of the night, WWE released a big batch of NXT talent. Now, I released about a 4-minute video on this in the middle of the night, like 4 o'clock in the morning. I released this. I recorded it at 3 a.m. when I saw this news from WWE that was broke by Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer website, that WWE has released a bunch of NXT stars, and 2 names stuck out in that list. Number 1, Drew Gulak, and the other, Gable Steveson. So the Gable Steveson experiment is finally over. That just was not going to work. Back in June of 2019, he and another Minnesota wrestling teammate, Dylan Martinez, I think his name was, were arrested when a woman came forward and accused the 2 of them of raping her. She filed a police report. She went to the hospital for treatment, but due to the fact that alcohol was involved and under Minnesota's laws on intoxication and a victim's ability to give consent, it really kind of handcuffed them and restricted them on how they could file charges in this particular case. But when you read the report, you can make your own judgment, and I think that's why a lot of that stuff was following Gable Steveson around. And with Drew Gulak, he has been completely missing in action ever since Ronda Rousey made those accusations on him of him pulling her drawstring on her sweatpants or whatever it was, and he has been absent from TV ever since then. So if WWE is going to release Drew Gulak, and the reason they're releasing him is because of what Ronda Rousey said, how can they keep Gable Steveson? You know what I mean? So if you're going to release one, you got to release the other. Or at least if you're going to release Drew, you absolutely have to release Gable. Maybe not the other way around, but definitely if you're going to release Gulak. So I think that's just for the better, to be honest. If WWE wants an Olympian, wrestling type of star, Kurt Angle type of guy, they have that in Chad Gable. They weren't going to find it in Gable Steveson. Every time we got a glimpse of him in the ring, he was just extremely unimpressive. The kid's an athlete and whatnot, but just, he wasn't really standing out in a way that an Angle would or a Brock would or even a Chad Gable would, to be honest. So I was really never too much into the guy, gold medal or no gold medal. It's really hard to kind of forget about what he was accused of, even though, no charges were formally brought on him. We can all read. So I recommend you just go read and just make your own judgments. Just make your own judgments. So releases are not always sad. Gable Steveson being gone from the company is something that I'm very pleased about. I did not want to see him, WWE, try to force feed him on us or anything like that. And I don't think Triple H and Nick Khan are really in the business of throwing money at people the way Vince McMahon was. So Gable Steveson is now gone. And all of the other NXT names, I looked at the big batch of names, didn't recognize any of them. So I didn't want to talk about them here since I don't know much about their careers. But I wish all of them, we wish all of them the best in their future endeavors and hopefully resuming their pro wrestling careers outside of WWE. Wish everyone well except for Gable Steveson. So we will keep our eye on where some of those NXT talents might turn up in the future, but it's always sad when you see a bunch of people lose their jobs. So that's pretty much all I've got for the news end of things. We can kind of start talking about the Backlash pay-per-view now. And like I said, let me know what you thought on the show. I believe it's going to be universally good. What do we got? What's Ramon saying in here? Ramon, this is me and my wife's birthday and our 1-year anniversary of being married. So it's both of your birthdays and your anniversary all on the same day? That's kind of interesting. I can see people doing that. Yeah, so you happen to be married to somebody that shares your birthday and then you got married on your birthdays? That's combining an awful lot of presents into one day. You got to buy each other shit. You don't want to spread them out. Actually, I like that. I like condensing them like that. Happy birthday and happy anniversary. 1 year. That's awesome. The first year goes pretty quick. Before you know it, we'll be sitting here and it'll be your 30th anniversary and I'll be 76 years old, still trying to talk about WrestleMania 71, which will be at that point. WrestleMania 71 is in the books. I wonder what city WrestleMania 71 will be in. But man, oh man, good happy anniversary and birthday to you, my friend. Reading some of these comments here. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. If somebody had an interesting comment, and yes, like I said, Allegiant Stadium has a roof. That's very important for WrestleMania. No more cold weather. Get it indoors or get it in a warm climate, and I don't want that show anywhere else. Because I think cold weather WrestleManias are fucking stupid. So glad that it's going to be in Vegas next year. All right, let's talk about WWE Backlash from Lyon, France. This was such a fun show. They held SmackDown in the same arena last night, and they had a crazy loud arena for that show. Fans were getting notifications on their phones about decibel levels reaching dangerous levels where you could, suffer hearing loss or hearing damage by, prolonged exposure to that. That is crazy because I believe there was only about 12,000 people in attendance. Now, one of the funniest things that WWE announced and bragged about here tonight was that Backlash was WWE's largest gate for any arena show in history. Do you hear that? The largest gate for any arena show, not a stadium show, but an arena show, regular standard arena show in the company's history. WWE has had like over 20 WrestleManias in arenas. And this one, those WrestleManias and those arenas, hold 15 to 20,000 people. I believe there was only about 12,000 in attendance here. So for WWE to brag that they shattered their largest gate record, that's not on the fans. That's on them. They just gouged the fuck out of the fans. They're basically bragging and telling the fans to be happy and appreciative that WWE charged them through the roof for this show. Because an event that only has 12,000 people breaking your all-time gate record is kind of crazy. Makes me wonder what those ticket prices were. What were the lowest ticket prices available? Anybody at the show tonight want to fill us in the chat? Because if they're breaking their all-time arena gate record with this amount of people, that must have put the ticket prices awfully high, which is another good incentive for WWE going overseas and putting pay-per-views there more often, because a lot of these cities that they go to for pay-per-views like this don't often get WWE. And when they do, it's usually just a tour, kind of like a house show tour. So putting TV shows and pay-per-views, and shows that matter over there, they're going to sell out, and the crowds are going to be hot, and they're going to pony up and pay whatever they charge. So I just think it's funny that WWE's bragging about gouging their own audience. Kind of a weird flex, if you ask me. But that was apparently their highest grossing gate in arena show history in WWE. That is crazy. So the show opened up with the big tag team match, the new Bloodline, Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga, taking on Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Once the combatants make their way to the ring, a huge brawl starts. Security's trying to pull them away, and Kevin Owens is hitting stunners on security guards and whatnot. And that's when Nick Aldis comes out there and says, all right, enough's enough. If this is the way you want it, then this match is now going to be a street fight, which got a huge pop from the crowd. And that was really the right decision to make. This match should have been a street fight right from the word go, because there was so much, personal animosity with the wrestlers and whatnot. You knew they were going to be coming right after each other, and it would be tough to keep them apart. So if these guys need to be tagging in and out, how is that really going to work? Street fight is the better way to go. And this was all kinds of crazy. They were fighting through the crowd, two guys on one side of the arena, two guys on the other side of the arena. We had all sorts of crazy on the outside of the ring action as well, which I really liked. And this brawling and shit went on, I swear, for like 30 minutes. But some of the key points that stick out in my mind was the hilarious Samoan spike spot on the table. And it was cool to see Solo, like his hair's all, his mohawk is all sticking up and all wild. And he's got Randy Orton up on the table. They're standing on the announce table. I think it was even, I don't know if it was the French announce table or what, but they had that great overhead camera shot of it, which looked awesome. And Solo goes in for the Samoan spike. Randy Orton counters with an RKO. And think about the size of Randy Orton and Solo Sikoa. And that table did not break. That was a really, really crazy spot, but not as crazy as the one Kevin Owens hit on Tama Tonga. I forget what it's called. Is it the avalanche fisherman suplex thing that he does off the top rope a lot? That's kind of that inverted job. I've been praising that move for years. And it's always really crazy when he hits it because it looks so brutal. Even on Kevin Owens, it looks just as brutal on Kevin as it does on his opponent. And I've always been, in the back of my mind wondering how many more years Kevin Owens can continue to execute that move on his opponents without concussing himself. I mean, it's a gnarly move. So he's up there hitting that thing on Tama Tonga, only he lands on chairs, which aren't just laying flat on the mat. They're like in chair position. They're like unfolded and sitting down. And he comes down on the top and bottom and the seat of those chairs, and they just kind of flatten out. It was a really, really sick bump. I hope nobody got injured on that one, because that was really, really, really ugly. So right after that spot, that's basically the finish. Owen hits that insane spot on Tama Tonga. He goes for the pin when from underneath the ring, we get a new figure who pulls, I think he stops the 3 count, grabs a chair and blasts Kevin Owens in the face. And then you hear the announcers, do you know who that is? Do you know who that is? That's Tonga Loa, formerly Camacho, right? He's already been in WWE. Tama Loa interferes, hits Owens with the chair, allowing Solo Sikoa to blast Owens with the Samoan spike and pin him for the win. And the bloodline now expands, but not in the way that we thought. All of us were assuming that it was going to be Jacob Fatu showing up and helping out the bloodline win this match. Throwing a curveball at us and making it Tonga Loa instead is awesome. because now you can really see, this bloodline beginning to form. You have to wonder now if Jacob Fatu is even going to be joining Solo's crew, or is he going to be joining Roman and Jimmy Uso, and possibly maybe even Jey Uso if he can get over to SmackDown. And I think there might be a possibility for that. So we will see. I kind of hope that Jacob Fatu joins the new bloodline and they really formulate a big crew of like 4 guys over there. And then you can have Roman and the Usos and maybe Sami Zayn somehow getting involved. And that's your big bloodline civil war. I think that would be a lot of fun for Survivor Series, unless you wanted to get The Rock involved. And it was The Rock and the Usos and Roman against these 4 guys. It would kind of be a mismatch, but it might be fun. But they're definitely setting the table up here for a big bloodline civil war that should dominate the SmackDown story for the rest of the year until we get into WrestleMania season again. So things are looking pretty fun there. It's good to see Tonga and Tama together. They are former IWGP Tag Champions, I believe, right? So seeing them together now with Solo Sikoa, you add Jacob Fatu to the mix. That could be a lot of fun. And Paul Heyman seems to be kind of just in the background. And whenever this civil war begins, you know that Paul Heyman will, I would assume, be on the side of Roman Reigns when he comes back. Another thing I'm wondering too, because I mentioned this, I think in my last episode, after the WWE draft, all of the results take effect on Monday officially. And we could still see some trades and whatnot. And one of the things I mentioned a couple days ago, yesterday, I think in my predictions video, my brief predictions video, is that Jey Uso and AJ Styles both have title matches. I predicted them both to lose. If I was WWE, I would trade the 2 of them for each other, because AJ Styles in his match with Cody, they could definitely run it back, but I didn't see anything in that match that would make me think that a rematch is even necessary. So that issue could just be a one-off. Now, if it is, you got to figure out something for Cody to do at the next 2 shows, which are coming up, the first one in 3 weeks from now, the show in Saudi Arabia. If they want to have a challenger for Cody on that show, they got to figure that out. So AJ would make the most sense there. But based on the finish tonight, unless AJ just comes out on SmackDown and is like, look, I want one more shot, and Cody gives it to him, I don't know what they did in that match to really warrant a rematch. So if Jey Uso and AJ Styles aren't getting rematches against Priest and Cody, why don't you swap them for each other? That way Jey Uso is now on SmackDown, getting involved in that bloodline stuff, and now AJ is on Raw with a fresh environment. That might be something I would do there, or they could always wait until later in the year to get Jey Uso over there if they want to roll with this run with this current bloodline for a while, them dominating SmackDown for a few months until Roman comes back, and then they formulate maybe the original crew. You could wait on it. It doesn't have to be done right now, but you could do a trade there if you wanted to. And I'm not sure too, with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, if they want to continue this issue on TV against the bloodline now, because now it's 3 against 2, they're going to have to recruit somebody else, or if maybe they're going to go their separate ways and go into their own programs, because at some point you're going to want to do Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton could be your SummerSlam match. It actually could. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, if they want to hold off on that. Otherwise, I would not be trying to do Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes yet, like in Saudi Arabia or at Clash at the Castle. I'd wait till SummerSlam at least to do something like that. So we'll see if Owens and Orton continue their feud with the bloodline, or if they move on to something else. We will have to see, but that's a really interesting development there, that it was not Jacob Fatu, it was Tonga Loa instead. And I'm all right with that. So a really fun, crazy opener. And again, the fans, Triple H likes these small condensed cards, but if there's one crowd that could probably sustain themselves for 5 hours, and you could put 3 or 4 more matches on the show and guarantee that the audience will not burn themselves out, this is the crowd that could have happened in. But I still think the smaller crowd worked out perfectly. It was the perfect setup for an audience like this, because they were literally into everything. They never slowed down. They never shut up. They never seemed disinterested or bored. There was never a dead spot in the show. There was never a piss break match or a popcorn break match or anything like that. Everything just hit. And that was a great way to start the show. Next matchup was Bayley defending her women's title against Tiffany Stratton and Naomi. This one was a good match too, all because of the fans. I mean, Bayley really worked hard. This was one of the more fun Bayley matches I can remember. I even like this one better than her WrestleMania win, to be honest, because, the fans really played a role. She was having fun with it, and she really looked like she was out there fighting hard. I don't know if the building was like a little bit more, temperature-wise, a little more hot, because Bayley and AJ Styles both specifically really looked sweatier than normal. Like they were really out there working hard. They were the two that I noticed the most. And Bayley did get the win here against Tiffany and Naomi. Bayley wound up getting the pin on Naomi when she reversed a pin attempt. I don't know what that pin attempt is called, that pinning combination, but Naomi went for the move that Bret Hart beat the British Bulldog with at In Your House December 95. That little twist around rolling cradle thing there. She went for that on Bayley. Bayley was able to reverse it and pin Naomi, winning the match, retaining her championship, and a really nice, wholesome moment at the end when Naomi just came over and gave Bayley a big hug and a kiss, and she goes, "Get in here and celebrate," and she left the ring and allowed Bayley to have her moment. So it was kind of nice to see, respect, no hard feelings there between friends, and Naomi showed Bayley all the love as Bayley retains her title as expected. Like I said in the predictions video, I mean, we had 3 world champions on this show who all won the titles at WrestleMania. It's not really common for people to win world championships at WrestleMania and then drop the titles at Backlash, unless you're Triple H in 2002 and Hulk Hogan decides to come back into the company. Otherwise, you're probably pretty safe. So I didn't think any of the champions were going to be dropping their titles tonight. I was just hoping the matches would be good, and I thought the women's match was excellent. So was the World Heavyweight title match between Jey Uso and Damian Priest. Again, this fucking crowd, man. I mean, this crowd was rocking. You saw the hard cam shaking. It's like one of those things. When the hard cam shakes, that's a big deal. It reminds me of... oh my God, what was it? Canadian Stampede back in 97 when Bret Hart and Austin, I think, kicked off the match, and Bret is just stomping Austin in the crowd, and the crowd in Calgary is going fucking nuts, and you can see the hard cam like moving up and down. The whole building is shaking, and that was the vibe we got here in this Priest and Jey Uso match, and I loved it. I love the story that they told. Damian Priest has been telling the Judgment Day guys lately on TV, stay out of my shit, stay out of my business, which is weird because the whole point of a faction is so you can have strength in numbers, so you can have each other's backs. It's been the Judgment Day's MO this whole time they've been together, to interfere in each other's matches. Now all of a sudden, Damian Priest is telling Balor and JD, 2 people who are expected to have his back, to not have his back. It's mixed signals, man. I don't know if this is kind of like at the beginning of a babyface turn for Damian Priest. Feels like it might be, especially the way he pulled off, his crew off of Jey after the match. But I think it's kind of funny that, the leader of a faction that's designed, to protect each other now all of a sudden doesn't want protection. And if his protectors disobey that, he's pissed. Like you're just all over the place, Damian Priest. Make up your mind what you want. JD and Finn Balor did not listen. They were out there interfering in this whole match. This thing became a 3-on-1 situation. JD McDonough saved Damian Priest in a minimum of 1 time when he put Priest's foot on the rope during a 3 count. And Jey Uso had to fight off Balor and JD. He was on the outside of the ring fighting with those guys a lot. So this was basically a 3-on-1 handicap match that wound up ending with a South of Heaven choke slam from the ropes onto Jey Uso, which was gnarly as hell, for the win. And Damian Priest retains his title. While he's celebrating with the belt, JD and Finn run in, start putting the boots to Jey Uso. Priest turns around, doesn't like it, pushes him off. I told you to stay out of my match. I told you how to stay out of my match. And he basically saves Jey Uso and stops his guys from attacking him, but then at the end winds up celebrating with them. So Priest is angry that they interfered. I'm sure he will have more to say to these guys on Monday night in their little clubhouse backstage. Now, I'm sure after a match, we'll cut backstage to the Judgment Day clubhouse where Priest will read the 2 of them the riot act. That's probably the type of segment we're going to get. And so I'm wondering now, with Rhea Ripley out and Dominic injured as well, are they going to completely implode Judgment Day now, or are they going to wait until these players come back? Because I feel like Judgment Day, their solidarity at this point is hanging on by a thread. And I thought it would be more fun for this group to implode when all of the members are there and healthy. So, maybe they temporarily make up and all is well for a little while until they do something else to piss off Damian Priest. Or if these are the guys, if this is what's going to wind up leading to him losing the titles, he's going to continue to tell them not to get involved in his matches, and then they do, and then they wind up costing him the title. Something like that is what this might be building towards. I'm just not sure if that's something we're going to see imminently or later on in the summer around SummerSlam time. But we got Saudi Arabia and we have Clash at the Castle. You would think that Priest and probably Cody are both going to have matches on those shows. Or maybe one of them is in a tag and they both don't defend their titles, not really sure. But I think that Judgment Day interfering is going to be something that's going to continue to happen until something goes horribly wrong. That's the way it feels like to me. And then after that, we had the women's tag team titles on the line. The Kabuki Warriors defending against Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair. Oh my God, the entrances. Jesus, they both came out there in red. Jade... What can you say about how this woman looks? I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, she's coming out there and I'm just like, how is that possible? How is that possible that a human being was made to be that perfect? I mean, I used to think that when I looked in the mirror, but not anymore. Jade Cargill, she's got me beat. She does. She's hotter than me. I hate to admit it, but she is. Man, oh man. So she looked great. Bianca looked great. Matching red outfits. They were awesome. The match was pretty fun, especially at first. Jade Cargill, very impressive, was doing some fun stuff in there. Even did a springboard top rope high cross body onto the Kabukis, which I loved. But that was the first half of the match. The second half, she got a little bit lost in there. And there was this one sequence where the Kabukis are both delivering double team offense to her. And it really looked like she didn't know where she was. I swear she turned around and I thought she asked Asuka, what do you want me to do? Like she just kind of stood there. She was taking some shots, but you could tell she wasn't sure what to do next. So these are the little things about Jade that I think they're still working on, which is why her being in a tag team, I think is great right now because she can get these reps. She can, continue to learn, continue to get better and be in the ring with a hell of a lot of great talent. Think of the women she was sharing the ring with tonight. My God, Bianca, Kyrie, and Asuka, you better bring it if you're in there with them three. So, Jade Cargill really is in a sink or swim situation here in WWE because she has an amazing look, one of the best looks the business has ever seen. I mean, name me a better look, fucking Luger and Sid, Lex Luger, Psycho Sid, Hogan to a degree. I mean, Goldberg, Jade is on that list and she might top the fucking list. So I want, despite that look, she still has some experience issues that have been noticeable to the fans and WWE, which is why they took their time debuting her. Now she's in a tag team. Even when she was making her entrance tonight, Michael Cole said, Jade wants to make herself a household name. So if that's really her personal goal, you have to make sure you're going at a pace, that isn't going to leave her behind or expose her. And I think tag team is a good place for her to be right now while she continues to evolve, to learn, to grow, and improve. So even though she got a little lost there during that second half of the match, overall, I think it was still a really fun match. The fans were into it. And the sequence, the finish was unbelievable. There was Jade Cargill, I should be fair here. Jade Cargill wasn't the only one that got a little bit confused here. Kairi Sane seemed confused when she was not the legal woman in the ring and she was trying to go for a pin and the ref was trying to tell her, you're not legal. And then Kairi went for like an armbar. And then I think she finally understood and then kind of got out of the way. So there was some communication issues in this match, but you wouldn't know it from the crowd. Like I said, you drop the same show in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's probably just a mediocre show and a mediocre match here. But in Lyon, France, totally different story. Fans couldn't have given a fuck about any of those little miscommunications. They were just having fun. And the finish was unbelievable. So Jade is in the ring. I had to rewind because I couldn't even tell what happened. I couldn't even fathom in my head how this sequence went. I had to rewind it like 3 times and watch it. So Jade's in the ring. Kyrie is on the top rope. She jumps at Jade to basically hit her with like a head scissors or a Hurricane Rana. So Jade catches her in Hurricane Rana position. And I guess Kyrie's all the way down. And then she catches her in her legs like that in the head scissor, then lifts her up in a power bomb, then flips her around like this into an electric chair, then lifts her over her head into her finisher position, the jaded move, which is like what, the glam slam or whatever, into that double underhook thing. So she went from Hurricane Rana into powerbomb, flipped her into electric chair, and then over the top of her head and grabbed her in a double underhook and hit her with her finisher. Holy fuck. Oh, I had to rewind it 3 times. I'm like, what did she do now? Like, how did she make that transition from Hurricane Rana into her finisher without dropping Kairi Sane? Unbelievable. As soon as she hit the jaded, Asuka got hoisted up by Bianca Belair in KOD position. KOD to Asuka. Bianca pins Asuka for the win. And Jade and Bianca are the new tag team champions. And like I've been saying since before WrestleMania, I said, envision, if you will, Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair in matching outfits holding up gold together. Well, we got that visual tonight. Spectacular, spectacular stuff. Love the two of them together. Hopefully they will have a good, fun Brothers of Destruction type of run with those tag team titles, because they definitely have like Kane and Undertaker vibes, these two. So they're going to be tough to beat and tough to stop. And I'm wondering when they do lose those titles, because when you're a champion, you do lose the championship at some point. Everybody does, even if you're Hogan, even if you're Roman, even if you're Bruno. So you will lose the titles at some point. I'm curious if their title loss will play a role in a feud between the two, because I was kind of hoping that they would get drafted to separate brands. That way, when they lost the titles, they would be immediately separated. So you could kind of just hold off the match a little while, but they might want to do it sooner than that, because I personally believe, I've been saying this for 3 or 4 months now, that WrestleMania 41, one of the main events of one of the nights, should be Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley. That's what I believe. I think that's their Cena and Orton. That's their Brett and Shawn. That's their Hogan and Warrior. That's their Austin and Rock in the women's division right now. Those are your 1A and 1B. I would book that match for WrestleMania 41. I would have maybe Rhea Ripley come back, win her championship back by murdering Liv Morgan and throwing her, 15 rows, into the audience, getting her belt back, continuing to tear it up through the rest of the year, have Bianca win the Rumble, and boom, you set yourself up for WrestleMania 41. So if that's the case, then I feel like the Jade and Bianca feud needs to get done before that. So how long do you think they're going to hold the titles for? Do you think they're going to drop them and then have a one-on-one match with each other at SummerSlam? Are we looking at Jade and Bianca at SummerSlam, or do Jade and Bianca have a much longer run than that? Because at some point that match has got to happen. That match could happen at WrestleMania. It definitely could. You could just do Jade and Bianca at WrestleMania if their partnership lasts and title run lasts into late in the year. Then they drop the titles. Then there's some dissension. Maybe they eliminate each other from the Royal Rumble and you set up a grudge match at WrestleMania between Jade and Bianca. That's great. That is a dream match, but I kind of want to see Bianca and Rhea Ripley more. So I think maybe you do Jade and Bianca this year. And honestly, I think Bianca's got to win that match. I do. I mean, if it's going to be Bianca and Rhea Ripley, I think Bianca needs to beat Jade. I do. But I don't know what WWE's plans are. Maybe it's a wait and see type of thing. Maybe they're going to see how Jade progresses, how this tag team title run goes before they make any decisions on when and where to end it. But I'm curious about, the path that Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Rhea Ripley are going to be taking into WrestleMania next year, because I'm going to be keeping my eye on all 3 of them, because I'm going to be at WrestleMania next year and I want to see a good women's championship match, a couple of them at least, at the show of shows. After that was the main event. This is one of those matches where you look at on paper and you just go, mwah. Cody Rhodes defending the undisputed WWE Championship against AJ Styles, Hall of Famer versus Hall of Famer here. First time one-on-one for a championship on a pay-per-view between these two guys. Also, congrats to Jessica Carr, who they said, Michael Cole said, was the first woman to referee a championship match in a pay-per-view main event, a WWE Championship match, pay-per-view main event. I did not realize that was true, but I guess it is, so congrats to her. That's a big, big honor. Also, Corey Graves said that AJ Styles is wearing the same gear he beat Dusty Rhodes in back when they wrestled for the NWA title. So they did finally reference the match that did take place between AJ Styles and Dusty all the way back in the day in TNA that was for the championship, and Dusty got all bloody and AJ beat him. So they didn't mention it on the Raw promo. Then I think they finally got to it last night, and tonight AJ, at least they claim he was wearing the same gear. A lot of times when they say they're wearing the same gear, they're not. So we'll see if that's actually true or not. I don't know. But the crowd was just in a sing-along mood the whole time. They literally sang through this whole match. I wish I knew what they were singing, but they were having a good old time here. There was a couple of times in the match, like AJ and Cody, everything was going fine. They were working smooth, loving everything they were doing. But at one point, the singing got to be so much that I was worried that it was distracting to the wrestlers. You know, I'm like, are they able, remember that one time when, it was Rollins and Ziggler, right? And they were doing the Iron. That was one of the funniest, the coolest fan moments in the world to me. I don't know what city that was in, but those fans are awesome. It was like an Iron Man match. And of course they showed the clock, the 30-minute clock. But every minute when it got down to 10, 9, 8, the fans would chant the countdown, 10, not like it's the Royal Rumble, 8. And when they would get down to 0, the crowd collectively would make the noise. And that was so fucking funny. And it was pissing off Ziggler and Rollins. And I think they were telling the referee, turn the fucking clock off or get it off the screen, because the fans want to do the countdown every minute. Was hysterical to me. That made me laugh so hard. But the fact that the crowd here was singing, I was worried that maybe it would be a little bit distracting to Cody and AJ, but I don't think it was. Those guys were just feeling it, man. I really liked this match because it looked like these two guys wrestled like they've had a storied history. They really did. But they don't, So the fact that they were able to really, be in sync like this for, kind of their first time in the ring was awesome. And this was a brutal ass match. Now, Cody had a couple of cool kickouts here, a couple of big ones. One after the 450, just a perfectly executed 450 by AJ Styles, which Cody kicked out of. And then a little while after that, AJ hit a really sick burning hammer onto Cody that he landed really funny on, and he kicked out at 1. And now this was one of those times where the fans singing took away from a great spot because they were too busy singing to appreciate Cody kicking out at 1. A lot of times, when Kenny Omega would do it, or you see these kickouts after 1, the crowd really explodes. But how can you explode when you're already in the process of exploding? You're singing, having a great time. So that one fell a little bit flat only because the crowd was already loud. And then we saw the finish. Cody had, I think, at least one Cody cutter earlier in the match that he hit, but then he went for a super Cody cutter all the way to the top rope, leapt off, hit AJ with the super Cody cutter, and then he took that right in to the Crossroads, just one for the win. So we didn't get the trifecta. I speculated yesterday in the predictions that we might get 2 Crossroads. I didn't think we'd get 3, but I wasn't sure if it was going to end after 1 Crossroads either. But I think that super Cody cutter made it easier for him to put him down after just 1 Crossroads. Hooks the leg, 1, 2, 3, and Cody Rhodes retains the WWE Undisputed Championship in the main event of Backlash, and his first title defense is now behind him, underneath him. I thought this was a good match to do. It put Cody in the ring with a bona fide Hall of Famer, a main eventer, a multi-time world champion, not only in WWE, but outside of it. And I couldn't think of a better person to lay in front of Cody first than AJ Styles. Props to AJ for the shape he got himself in and for how well he worked this match. If they want to run it back, I'm cool with that. This is Cody Rhodes and AJ Styles. Give me 4 of these matches if you want. I don't give a shit. But I also think this could have been a one-off. Now, if it's a one-off, I don't know what Cody does in Saudi Arabia or Clash at the Castle for that matter. So I feel like him and AJ might be destined to meet one more time, and AJ might not need really any more of a reason other than, hey, I'm AJ Styles. You got the better of me in France. I'll admit that, but I think you should give this Georgia boy one more shot. I think I've earned that. My career, and in my track record and my legacy, I've earned that. And the guy Cody Rhodes he's not going to deny that. Of course, we'll do it one more time. Maybe we do a stip, or maybe I'm not sure if something happened in this match throughout the course of the match that would make AJ want to add a specific stip or something, I don't know, maybe an Iron Man match type of thing. I don't know. Probably can't be an Iron Man match if they're going to be doing King of the Ring shit in Saudi Arabia and whatnot. But, we could see that. Also, at Clash at the Castle, I'm kind of hoping that Priest loses to McIntyre. That might be what they're doing here. That might be part of Priest kind of not wanting Judgment Day to interfere so he can be kind of babyface-ish, going into Clash at the Castle. But how's that going to work when McIntyre is going to be the huge face in that? Even as a heel, I think the Scotland crowd is going to be cheering for McIntyre, right? So maybe, for the purposes of, here in the States, making Priest a little bit of a face as he goes into Clash at the Castle, and then it's going to be the same thing. He's going to tell, his guys don't interfere, and then maybe they do. They cost him the match, and McIntyre wins, something like that. Maybe McIntyre becomes the new leader of, Remember when Rhea Ripley and McIntyre kind of were having some discussions? And they did business together? He was briefly involved with the Judgment Day for a little while there, right? He could win the title and be the new leader of the Judgment Day. And now he's got a whole crew to back him up against CM Punk. I don't know if that will work. That might be going too far with it. But I feel like if you're having a show in Scotland, McIntyre had just won the title WrestleMania, got it taken away from him. Also, you paid off the Money in the Bank briefcase with Priest. I had said even before WrestleMania, I had mentioned the possibility of Priest having a short title run. I said if he cashes in, because by that point we had heard about Clash at the Castle and the date and location and all that. I said if Priest cashes in at Mania, that's what I would do. I would make him champion at Mania and then have Drew beat him at the Clash. That way Drew can he can have the best of both worlds. He got the WrestleMania 20, I keep saying 20 because 2020, the WrestleMania 36 main event taken away from him. It was put in the Performance Center. Yes, he beat Brock, but it wasn't in the main event of a stadium show like he wanted. So now they're kind of making up for that. They can give him a championship victory in the main event in his hometown, but it's not a stadium show, it's an arena show. And they also gave him a world championship win in a stadium show at WrestleMania, even though he lost it 5 minutes and 37 seconds later or whatever it was. So I feel like this would be a good way to repay McIntyre, give him a best of both. He did get to experience for 5 minutes what it feels like to win a championship at WrestleMania in front of a stadium crowd. Now he gets to go to his home country and win the championship in the main event of a pay-per-view there in front of a crowd that is going to be fucking jacked. So that would be fun. Or you can have CM Punk show up and cost him the match there in Scotland, and Punk will not make it out of Scotland alive. But I feel like Priest could be ripe. That's what I would do. I know it's a short run for Priest, and I hate that, but sometimes that's the reality. Sometimes not everybody can hold the title for a year. And I think Priest having the briefcase, he needed to pay that off. I would have hated to see him hold that briefcase all that time and then not win the title. And now with everything going on with the Judgment Day, Rhea out, Dom out, Priest having issues with his own crew, feels like they're setting him up to lose. So if that happens at the Clash at the Castle and Drew wins the title and then he goes and defends it against CM Punk at SummerSlam, that might be the direction we're going in. And I would be fine if that happens. So in terms of Clash in Saudi Arabia, not sure what Cody or Priest is going to do definitively, but we'll probably start learning that as soon as this week on TV. And also, in Saudi Arabia, of course, we're going to have the finals of the King of the Ring tournament. And tonight during the show, WWE announced the first batch of King of the Ring matches, tournament matches, that are going to kick off on Monday Night Raw. And these are some fucking bangers, man. One thing is for sure here, the WWE is definitely not phoning this tournament in, because they have got some crazy matches set up for Monday night. And this is only Monday's side of things. SmackDown's going to have, 4 matches as well for the men and the women. And the finals will be at Crown Jewel 3 weeks from today. So they have 3 weeks to complete this tournament on TV. And if they give this tournament some time and they take it seriously, which all indications say that they are based on these matches, I think this could be a really great tournament that could easily rival, the Owen Hart tournament and the Continental Classic that AEW has done recently in recent years that have all been terrific. And now the King of the Ring is back to being on TV again. The only thing I don't like about it is they're not doing qualifying matches. And it's been a problem in years with the King of the Ring and especially the Royal Rumble. Why, how sometimes you have to qualify to enter and then sometimes you can just declare. So if all you have to do is declare for the King of the Ring or the Queen of the Ring, why hasn't every single star declared? Why have only, who's in the back saying, nah, I don't feel like declaring? Who's saying that? So if you're allowed to just declare, how come everybody hasn't declared? So I get it. There's the show's in 3 weeks, so there's no time to do qualifying matches. I understand that, but it's still a little weird how they try to make it seem like, oh, you can just say it in a promo and then you're in. Years ago, fucking Mr. Perfect took 3 qualifying matches against Doink to qualify in 1993. He had to wrestle him 3 times. They had 2 no contests and then, or a count out or some shit. And then they had a 3rd match on Raw and Perfect finally beat him. He had to go through the ringer just to qualify to lose in the 2nd round of the King of the Ring. So I feel like they could have done some qualifying matches here, but those are usually just a formality. What's important here is the matches they have set up for Monday. Are y'all ready for this? You know what? Let's do the women first because the women have some good ones here, but they're not as eye-popping as the men's. Here's what we're going to see on Raw with the women. And it sounds like they have 8 matches lined up for Monday Night Raw, 4 for the men, 4 for the women, unless these are going to be spread out over a couple of weeks, these 4 matches. But I think they're going to try to get them all in on Monday Night Raw. So for the women, we have Zoe Stark taking on Ivy Nile. We have Shayna Baszler versus Selena Vega. We have Lyra Valkyrie, right? I can't ever say her name. Lyra Valkyrie against Asuka and Io Sky versus Natty. Okay, this is probably not going to be all on Monday. That's insane. They're not going to do 8 matches in a 3-hour cable TV show. So this is going to be spread out between, now and the Saudi show. So those are the matches. Lyra Valkyria. Man, I hate that name. I just cannot say it. So those are the matches for the women. Listen to what the matches are for the men. Kofi Kingston versus Rey Mysterio. Holy shit. Drew McIntyre versus Finn Balor. Another interesting one. Maybe setting the stage there for Clash at the Castle. If Balor beats Drew with help of Priest or Punk, or I don't know, maybe that helps get Drew a title shot at Clash at the Castle. Maybe the seeds are being planted there. We also have Dragunov making his main roster debut, taking on Ricochet. So that's going to be all kinds of fun. Ricochet, incidentally, is the Speed champion right now. And Gunther versus Sheamus. So we're going to get Gunther and Sheamus ran back. That was a Clash at the Castle match a couple years ago, right? So those are some crazy matches, and I'm happy that WWE seems to be really making this King of the Ring tournament a big deal. This is not one that's going to be just for mid-carders, or they're going to be using just to give it to Xavier Woods or Zelina Vega. This is a main event King of the Ring tournament. There are big-time players involved here, and this thing's going to be fun. And Gunther and Dragunov being on the same side of the brackets is nuts. I'm guessing we're going to be getting a Raw finalist and a SmackDown finalist for the men and the women, I'm guessing. So we haven't even seen what the matches are going to be yet for SmackDown unless they've come out today and I've missed them. But for Raw's brackets, those are some crazy matches that kick off this Monday night on Raw. That's going to be fun. As soon as Gunther declared on Raw a week or 2 ago for the King of the Ring, the very first thing I did was go on social media, go to Twitter, and I said, congratulations, Gunther, on winning the King of the Ring 2024 tournament, because I thought that as soon as he said it, it's a done deal. Who is going to beat Gunther? But look at these matches. He's got Dragunov on his side of the bracket, man. So we're going to get that one. I mean, these guys aren't going to, Gunther and Dragunov will not be able to meet in the finals, right? They're going to have to meet in the semis or something. We haven't seen the actual bracket structure yet, but based on these matches, I'm sure there's going to be a Raw finalist and a SmackDown finalist. So how's that going to work? I mean, is Dragunov, I can't imagine him losing right when he gets in. So these are some crazy matches. I'm actually curious how this is going to shake out. And with Dragunov and Drew McIntyre and Gunther all on the Raw side alone, all of a sudden Gunther does not become, an automatic guarantee to me. I still feel like he's the odds-on favorite to win, and he should win. But based on some of these names, man, I don't know. I don't know how you, unless Gunther gets his win back over Dragunov, possibly. You know, maybe he just beats him along the way here, and then you still have these two face each other down the line. I would try to hold off on these two if you could, but looks like they're going to be putting them together pretty quick there, and we could see interference at play or something like that. I still feel like this is Gunther's tournament to win, but it's a hell of a lot less predictable now that we've actually visualized some of these matches. So the King of the Ring looks like it's going to be fun, and what's going to be fun about it is it's short. We got 3 weeks to do this. So we have, 8 matches on Raw, 4 for men, 4 for women, and 8 matches on SmackDown, 4 for men and 4 for the women to be, hammered out in the next, couple of weeks here. And then we have the finals in Saudi Arabia, and I don't know who it's going to be on the SmackDown side. If it's going to be like Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, they could be in this unless they're going to continue their bloodline stuff. But if you put maybe a Randy Orton and a Gunther in the finals, holy shit. I think the King of the Ring is looking pretty good, pretty good. So yeah, we'll see how it all plays out on TV. Let me know what you guys think about the King of the Ring and who you got winning this thing this year. I'm still picking Gunther, but I'm really liking the matches they have advertised so far. That's good stuff. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. I know I got some super chats to answer, and we'll just answer some questions now before we get out of here today. Good to see Jay Boba, 28. Thank you for the $5, my friend. Hey, Greg, being from California myself, officially making the trip to WrestleMania 41. Do you plan on going? Yeah, weren't you here earlier? I've been talking about this forever. Yes, if it is in Vegas, I am going. So I will be at WrestleMania 41. I will be making the drive as well, just about 5 hours for me here from San Diego. And I'm looking forward to seeing all y'all there. Good to see Jay Lambo back as well. Thank you, my friend, for the $5. What's up, guys? To you and the chat. Right on. Did I mention the Io Sky versus Natalya match earlier? When I got stuck on Laya Valkyria's name or whatever her name is, I'm not sure if I got Io and Natty, but I saw somebody mention Io. Io Sky and Natalya in the women's bracket is interesting too, because Io is in there with Asuka. So we could see 2 Damage Control members battle it out there, maybe to get to the finals of the Queen of the Ring. Wouldn't be surprised at all if that's the way it goes down based on the bracket here. So yeah, we will see. Juliet, you're late. That's okay. Thank you for the $5. The only thing that sucks about WrestleMania in Vegas, no, nothing sucks about it, is no watch along with you next year. Okay, that does suck a little bit. Yes, maybe I can live stream from the show from my phone. Maybe that's the best I can do. I am going to do better next year since we have a full year to prepare to get some content out to you. I want to try to do some kind of a video while I'm there as well, along with all the footage I'm going to capture and the things we're going to do. And then I'll do a big, huge review when I get back into town, and I can record one and put one together, and a huge, vlog of the whole weekend type of thing. But I would also like to do some stuff while I'm there. Couple little videos, maybe even a live stream. We'll be doing that, don't worry. But yeah, no, unfortunately, no watch along next year because I plan on making the trip to Vegas. Thank you so much, Juliet, as always, gifting out memberships, hooking up. Lee T, welcome to the family, Lee T. Hopefully you'll be here more than a month. Sean Ireland, thank you for the $2. The King of the Ring matches look amazing. They do. They look so good. I'm stoked for it. And that Continental Classic in AEW was a lot of fun. I really think that helped their television, having those tournament matches, because so many of them were great matches and interesting matches, intriguing ones on paper. So it's nice to see tournaments because oftentimes throughout history in wrestling, I haven't been that enamored with tournaments, especially in WWE, the King of the Ring tournaments, these modern ones that they've done like in the last 10 or 15 years have been so phoned in. I haven't given a shit who wins the fucking King Corbin's, and even William Regal winning back in like 09 or something was kind of cool, but it didn't really mean anything. King Corbin and Queen Zelina and even King Xavier. I don't give a shit about the King of the Ring. I think it's a stupid thing. Who would want to wear a crown and cape around in anyway and carry a scepter? It's dumb. So I don't even know, unless it would guarantee me a title shot, like it used to pretty much. It wasn't a guarantee, but most of the time, King of the Ring victory was a stepping stone for a few years there. The King of the Ring winner was getting title shots at SummerSlam and stuff. So if that's what the case is going to be here, Gunther wins the King of the Ring, gets a title shot against Priest or McIntyre or somebody at SummerSlam, we could see that. We could also see Gunther win the Royal Rumble and challenge Cody at WrestleMania next year. They might do that. I'm not sure which, that's a good question to ask you guys. Which world championship do you think Gunther will win first? The World Heavyweight title or the Undisputed title? Right now he's on Raw, so it feels like the World Heavyweight title is more within his reach, but he could also bide his time, tread water in storylines on Raw for the rest of the year, go into the Rumble and win it, and then he picks Cody. I haven't forgotten you eliminated me from the Rumble or whatever. He's got maybe some bones to pick with Cody and challenges Cody for the title at WrestleMania. But I also think that not only would it be cool to see Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair at WrestleMania for the championship, I think it would be cool to see Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins for the championship as well. And I would love to see, since Cody and Seth are on separate brands and they had such a history at this year's WrestleMania, and Seth did so much for Cody and sacrificed so much. When you combine what he sacrificed for Cody at WrestleMania with the 3 jobs he did to him in 2022 when Cody first came in, you'd think that Seth is owed one here, right? So I think it would be fun if, Cody and Seth just had parallel paths. Maybe occasionally at a pay-per-view, SummerSlam or Survivor Series, they pass each other in the hallway, share a hug, what's up, hope everything's going all right, a little catching up, how's the baby, how's the family, that type of thing, a little fist bump, all right, brother, talk to you later type of thing, and just do that all year. And then when you get to the Royal Rumble, you have Seth win it. And then Seth gets to choose who he's going to face. And he ultimately picks Cody and he lays out his reasonings for it. Like, you beat me 3 times. I feel like I'm one of the best in this company's history. You're the top guy in the mountain right now. You beat me 3 times in a row 3 years ago. And now I'm, I need to prove that I can beat you in order to be satisfied with my own career, my own legacy. And maybe it's just a match of respect. I know those can get cheesy and corny sometimes, but there's going to be a lot of other stuff going on at WrestleMania, likely involving The Rock and Roman and all that. So if you had just a good, solid, babyface match of respect, unless Rollins goes heel or something by the end of the year, between Cody and Rollins, and you have Rollins beat him. Yeah, Rollins beats Cody next year for the title. That's something I would consider. So it could be Rollins, it could be Gunther. Who knows who it could be, but Gunther seems like he's poised to have quite the year here, especially if he wins the King of the Ring and then goes on to, have title shots and whatnot. We will see. What do y'all make of all this? What do y'all think? Tell me. Let me answer more super chats. I got Alex Schmidt with $2. Which was better, Backlash in Puerto Rico or Backlash in France? I don't know. That's a question for y'all. I mean, last year was great. Carlito, that Bad Bunny and Priest match. Cody and Brock was a banger. Even Zelina. She's not even one of my favorites, but she had like just a tremendous entrance, and that whole thing with her last year being in, in front of her family and all of that and her gear. It was very emotional for her, and it was quite the moment. So I don't know. That's a tough one, because I haven't watched Backlash 2023 since we watched it last year. So I'm just kind of going by memory here. I know the show was great. It has similar kind of minimalist set. It was a packed house. The crowd was stupidly hot. But were they setting decibel records? I mean, shit, we might have to give the nod to the crowd on this one. If you judge the in-ring matches side by side, they might be equal, but that crowd might put France, over the top, I think. Because what I remember, that Bad Bunny and Priest match last year was amazing. So I feel like last year's Backlash was not held its own in terms of in-ring quality with this year's, but I still think the crowd gives them that nod, man. The crowd was just amazing. The singing is what I love about the European crowds, man. They sing. They just love to sing. They sing through a whole fucking show. I think that's great. I wish we could sing like that. I didn't understand anything they were chanting. I did hear them say, "This is awesome," though. So they were chanting a couple things in English, but for the most part, I had no idea what they were chanting during anything. But that was part of the fun. I didn't care that I didn't know. I love that they were having fun. The Juliet's got $2. Congrats to Seth on the new contract. Yes, we second that. We're big Seth Rollins fans here on this channel, and I never expected him to go anywhere. To me, he was WWE for life, as was Becky Lynch. I didn't see either one of them bouncing out of there. That's where I'd stay if I was them. That's where their bread is buttered, and they are going to be cemented as all-time legacy Hall of Famers, for years to come. If they never leave the company, there's going to be a whole crop of talent in 20 years that is going to look at the two of them as two humongous WWE legends. So that's what I would be interested in if I was already, set financially. I've had a great career, made a lot of money, won a lot of championships. I would now want to cement my legacy as one of the best. Some people like Bryan Danielson, and Moxley want to do stuff internationally, work all over the world. And some people just want to make themselves a great pro wrestling Hall of Famer. And you can do that either way. And for Seth and Becky Lynch to stay in WWE and have virtually their whole careers there, in the big time anyway, there's nothing wrong with that. I would do the same thing if I was in either one of their positions. Joshua Aparicio, I don't really get into too much of my personal life here on this channel. I don't talk a lot about, what I do in my free time and whatnot. But unfortunately, I have a confession to make. It's not something I'm not proud of. I'm not proud of this. I understand if any of you want to unfollow me or unsubscribe to me after you hear what I'm about to say here, because my behavior is despicable. It's absolutely despicable. And there's no excuse for my behavior. But unfortunately, in the sake of transparency and being honest on this channel, I just have to let you guys know I did something kind of shitty. I can't believe I'm about to say this. I have not yet listened to the Joe Hendry song. I know. Guys, I know. Okay? I know. It's my fault. I take full responsibility for this. I was a fool. I am an idiot. Here I am reading all about this song and everybody believing in Joe Hendry. And I have not yet taken the time to take my index finger and click on that song so I can listen to it. I haven't done it. So how can I say that I believe in Joe Hendry when I haven't even listened to his song? I don't deserve to be able to say I believe in Joe Hendry because I'm the scumbag that has not listened to his song. I'm the asshole that has not taken the time to go to YouTube and find it so I could hear it. I'm so busy that I can't take the 3 minutes that it would take to do that. There's no excuse for that type of behavior. I am a horrible person for that. And I take full responsibility for not listening to Joe Hendry's song. I'm sorry. Please accept my apology. Please, I'm begging you. Don't cancel me over this. Please. I want to stay here. I want to talk about wrestling on YouTube. I don't want this to kill my YouTube career. I don't want the fact that I was so foolish and so stupid, like an idiot, by not listening to the Joe Hendry song. I don't want to lose my whole channel over this. So please, guys, forgive me. Please have my back. And please tell people not to disown me. I'm very, very sorry. I will get down on it, though. For Doug Unfunny. Downvote. I promise I will get to it. I promise I will listen to the song on my way to work today. I will pull it right up. I will blast it full blast, sunroof and windows down. I promise. You have my word. By the time we next speak, I will believe in Joe Hendry. I just like to be honest with you guys. I don't want to lie to you and say I listened to the song and then you ask me what the lyrics are and I don't know. So I just need to listen to it and then I will report back. Please forgive my ignorance. Zach Palgett, that'll be 3 years without a Mania watch along with you. I was at this year's and last year's in 2025. Oh shit, Zach Palgett. Yeah, this year it was nice to actually get back because at WrestleMania 39, I was there at the show. But next year I'm going to be prepared. I'm going to make sure there's content on the channel even when I'm gone, and we're going to do videos while we're there. I'm going to make that a point to make plans to do that. I still don't really have a good laptop. I don't. I have 2 computers that work great, 2 desktops, but I don't have anything to take on the road. So maybe I'll buy a laptop this year, get that set up. We can do a live stream. Otherwise, I'll figure something out for the big show next year. That's for sure. And I'm going to be hanging out with so many of you. We might just do a big ass group live stream. I'm also going to see what YouTubers are going. Maybe we'll schedule a big fucking meetup party or something like that. We'll see if anybody else is going. I might get horn in on something. We'll see. Lots of time to make plans. That's for sure. I'm looking forward to it next year. But I think that's going to do it for me this afternoon. I now have to head to work. Knock that out. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you guys. Unfortunately, there will be no classic watch along tomorrow. I have got a family engagement tomorrow afternoon. It is Elizabeth's daughter's 16th birthday, so we're having a big ass party for her. So if you want to wish Auburn a happy birthday in the chat, you're welcome to. She's turning 16 years old, so a lot of people are coming over to the house to give her presents and whatnot. She's going to go get her driver's license on Monday, and it's a big deal. So we kind of have a shindig here at the Podcastle tomorrow for a birthday party. So you are going to be getting a different video instead. I will release it in the afternoon. It's a fun review on a show that's very significant to me as a wrestling fan. Without this particular wrestling show, and it's not a pay-per-view, it's a TV episode. Without this particular wrestling show, I might not even be a fan. So stay tuned tomorrow. I'm going to give you guys that review in lieu of a classic watch-along, and then we will be back on Monday to talk about Monday Night Raw. So you will still see me tomorrow, just not in live form. Also, I've started releasing some short-form videos on the channel, just quick little videos popping in, talking about stuff. There's a couple of these uploaded right now. I'm kind of in practice mode on these. I'm just going to upload them anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes long type of thing. We did the predictions in a format like that. I talked about the Elite attacking Kenny like that. And I dropped a video this morning on Gable Stevenson's release as well. So I thought that would be a good way to continue to just keep content flowing on the channel. Even if I don't have time to come up here for a full podcast review, at least pop in and give you my thoughts on a couple of things from time to time, like I do with the mic drops already, but these are even simpler than that. And also, clipping out some good mic work clips and whatnot, just to keep stuff flowing on the channel, because we are currently in the midst of an algorithm skid. Algorithm ain't liking us for the last couple of weeks, but that's okay. It happens. Things will pick back up. But in the meantime, I need y'all's support, and I need to give you guys and feed you guys content for y'all to eat. So thank you as always for being here. Sorry about tomorrow's watch along, but we should be back the following week, although the week after is Mother's Day, another busy day for me at the restaurant, but I should be here in time to get a watch-along done in 2 weeks. So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to postpone 2 weeks in a row on you, but we definitely will not be here tomorrow. So still stay tuned. You'll get a review tomorrow, and you will get me on Monday Night After Raw for a review. In the meantime, drop your thoughts and comments on Backlash in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the show. Let me know what you thought about WrestleMania or any of the wrestling news we discussed here before we got into the actual pay-per-view review. But I want to thank y'all for joining us today. Have a great rest of your Saturday and a great weekend. And the next time you'll be seeing me live is Monday Night After Raw.